Braja Jana Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava ki jai, Gantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, entitled The Movements of the Living Entities. Text number 27. Please repeat. Tudantyama tvacham dangsha mashakamat kunadayaha rudantang vigata jnanam krimaya krimikam yata Tudantyam yama tvacham dangsha mashakamat kunadayaha urantang vigata jnanam krimaya krimikam yata Tudantyama tvachang dangsha mashakamat kunadayaha rudantam vigata jnanam krimaya krimikam yata. Mataji's. Rudantam vigata jnanam Okay, word for word, please repeat. Tudanti, they bite. Amatvacham, the baby whose skin is soft. Dangsha, gnats. Mashaka, mosquitoes. Matkuna, bugs. Adaya, and other creatures. Rudantam, crying. Vigata, deprived of. Jnanam, wisdom. Krimaya, worms. Krimikam, a worm. Yata, just as. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. In his helpless condition, gnats, mosquitoes, bugs, and other germs bite the baby, whose skin is tender. Just as small worms bite a big worm, the child, deprived of his wisdom, cries bitterly. Purport. The word Vigata Jnanam means that the spiritual knowledge which the child developed in the abdomen is already lost to the spell of Maya. Owing to various kinds of disturbances and to being out of the abdomen, the child cannot remember what he was thinking of for his salvation. It is assumed that even if a person acquires some spiritual uplifting knowledge, circumstantially he is prone to forget it. Not only children, but also elderly persons should be very careful to protect their sense of Krishna consciousness and avoid unfavorable circumstances so that they may not forget their prime duty. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Korochi Vachalam Pangun Lagaite Gurim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada, he mentions so many times in his purports that there are 4 problems in life that every human being should dedicate their lives to solving. Birth, death, old age, and disease. So we're hearing about the process of birth. Actually, the process of birth is the main problem, but also it's problematic just being in the mother's womb, as we're hearing. Before the suffering that the baby experiences, the baby is praying to the Lord for salvation. The baby is repenting for its position that has been put in, that is repenting for its forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. And so now the baby is suffering. In this life, this is where suffering begins, within the womb. And because of that suffering, one is not able to remember the Supreme Lord. Although Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that there are 4 types of people that come to devotional service, one of those is the person that is suffering. as experiencing misery. But if one is experiencing too much misery, one becomes so absorbed in themselves, in their own problems, that they can't think about other things, such as devotional service, such as the Supreme Lord. So this material world is a place of forgetfulness. The baby has forgotten whatever spiritual knowledge, whatever realization it had about the Supreme Lord because of its suffering condition. And similarly, us in this material, us outside of the womb, growing up, we also forget very easily. In fact, we shouldn't be surprised when we forget something. We should be surprised when we remember something. So we're hearing in today's purport how it is essential, that if we want to remember something, we have to continuously remind ourselves of what we want to remember. Otherwise, no doubt, we will forget it. So how careful we should be if we want to remain in devotional service, if we want to remain in Krishna consciousness, how careful we should be to daily hear about the glories of the Lord. Krishna Katha consists of two sides, two factors: the miseries of matter and the glories of spirit. So Bhagavatam itself says, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. That every single day we should be hearing. If we come to Bhagavatam class every day, we will protect ourselves from this forgetfulness. We chant before Bhagavatam class, Om Jnana Timirandasya. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. So we need to dispel this ignorance by constantly hearing every day the glories of the Supreme Lord and also the miseries of matter. And also that's why it's essential also to have close, intimate friends in Krishna consciousness, to assist each other, to remind us every day why we are chanting Hare Krishna, why we are engaging in devotional service, why are we following the regulative principles. We need reminding every single day. That's why we should be very much attracted to Vaishnava Sangha, because these are the people that are helping us to attain perfection, helping us to remember the Supreme Lord. And no doubt it is our friends or the Vaishnavas that we're associated with, those are most likely going to be the people which are chanting to us at the time we leave our bodies. Although, as devotees, we can be sometimes very down on the material energy, Our Maya is full of misery, full of suffering, But actually, this material world is perfect and complete. In the invocation to Sri Ishopanishad, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vishishyate. That Krishna explains that this world is complete. It is coming from the complete whole. And it is perfect. Why is it perfect? Because it serves its particular purpose perfectly. It is a place where the living entities can come to forget Krishna. It's perfect, isn't it? Every way we turn, we have an opportunity to forget Krishna. So yes. And also Krishna says that this material energy is his Daivi Shakti. It's his divine energy. To Krishna, everything is spiritual. There's no differentiation between spiritual and material. It's only the Tatastha Shakti, the living entities, which experience something which is material or spiritual. He says, Daivi yeshagunamayi mamamaya duratyaya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etan tarantite. This divine energy of mine is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So yes, this material energy, it's Krishna's divine energy. Although we should be very, very careful not to fall victim to this material energy, but still we should respect it. It's one of Krishna's spiritual energies, one of his energies. So, as I said, Krishna Katha consists of hearing the miseries of matter and also the glories of spirit. Today, New Varshan is celebrating Diwali, and it is the beginning of Kartik. And also, we're hearing about babies in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to speak about the supreme baby, Bal Gopal. That this is a very unique Leela. Usually Krishna is surrounded by many of his associates at the same time. But on this particular day of Diwali, by the arrangements of Krishna's Leela Shakti, all of the Brajbasis were busy making plans for the festivities. So Yashoda Devi, she is lying in bed, asleep next to Krishna, next to baby Krishna. And a breeze comes through the window and arouses Yashoda Devi from sleep. She opens her eyes and she sees her darling child lying next to her. As she looks at him, she thinks, my blue lotus. And she moves closer and kisses him on the cheek. At that point, Krishna didn't wake up, but he felt a surge of ecstasy run through his body. And the image of his mother became manifest on his mind. So Yashoda Devi, she decided not to wake her son. So she got up from bed, with the help of her maidservants, she took bath and dressed herself. And it's described in Bhagavatam that she dressed herself in a saffron yellow sari Why did she choose to wear a saffron yellow sari? Because she wanted to churn the yogurt into butter, which is service for Krishna, and she wanted it to be perfect in every way, shape, and form. And saffron is the color of purity. So therefore she wanted, to all her activities to be purely for Krishna's pleasure. So, Mother Yashoda, she sends the maidservants that helped her, she sends them away, and she starts to churn the yogurt into butter. So as she's churning the yogurt, she is completely and utterly absorbed in chanting the glories of Krishna. She is chanting about his baby activities. The acharyas describe how when she is churning, the bangles on her arms, the noise they were making sounded exactly like sweet cartels. And the noise that the churning rod was making on the churning pot sounded just like a mridanga. So therefore, as Mother Yashoda is chanting the glories of Krishna, she has full musical accompaniment. Actually, some acharyas, they describe that the noise of Mother Yashoda's bangles, they sounded just like the ringing of a bell that the pujari uses to wake up the deity. So similarly, Krishna, he gradually woke up from the sleep. And Mother Yashoda positioned herself in such a way that she could see Krishna lying in bed. And slowly Krishna opened his eyes and he saw the most beautiful sight in front of him. Mother Yashoda, fully exerting herself, in service to him. It's described she was perspiring, the flowers were falling from her hair. And the earrings that Mother Yashoda was wearing, it said they were dancing, on her cheeks. And when Krishna saw the earrings, he became jealous of them. Actually, the earrings, they were saying to the Lord, what are you doing, you lazy boy? Why don't you come here and also relish the nectar of Yashoda's cheeks? But Krishna thought, no, let me just stay here and relish. Wait, if I'm that close to Yashoda, I can't relish this beautiful sight that I'm seeing. So therefore, Krishna just laid in bed for some moments and relished the vision of Mother Yashoda, fully exerting herself, churning this yogurt. Then Krishna decided it was time to get up. And so he started shouting, "Mother, Mother!" And she was just fully absorbed in chanting and remembering Krishna and in churning the yogurt, that she didn't even hear Krishna calling her. Therefore Krishna, he got out of bed, he went to Mother Yashoda, and still Mother Yashoda didn't even realize that Krishna was by her side. So Krishna, he thought, right, I'm going to put a stop to this. Why is she neglecting me? So he grabbed hold of the churning rod with both hands. And it's described just as like when someone applies brakes to a bike, that it's a stop. Similarly, when Krishna grabbed hold of the churning rod, it stopped Mother Yashoda from churning. And Mother Yashoda, she looked down in surprise to see Krishna there. And she waited to see what Krishna would do next. And actually the acharyas, they point out that actually there's a very valuable lesson we can learn from this. That when will we be so much absorbed and engaged in devotional service that Krishna will come to us? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, don't try to see Krishna, but act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. How this is exemplified by Mother Yashoda. That Krishna, she was exerting so much energy into her service that Krishna came to her. And she didn't even realize that Krishna was by her side. So therefore Mother Yashoda, she waited to see what Krishna would do next. And Krishna put his foot on the churning pot and pushed himself up onto Mother Yashoda's lap. And Mother Yashoda was very pleased. She knew, my son knows how to get what he wants. Implying that Krishna wanted Mother Yashoda to feed him. So Mother Yashoda, she started to nurse Krishna. And at this point, a transcendental competition took place. Krishna's stomach can never be satisfied, can never be filled. And the milk that was flowing from Mother Yashoda's breast wanted to satisfy Krishna. But Krishna can never be satisfied with any amount of prema. And that milk flowing from Mother Yashoda's breast was pure, liquid prema. And as Mother Yashoda is looking at the beautiful face of her darling child, she becomes completely absorbed again in relishing his form, that she loses all track of time. And as she's nursing Krishna, she hears that sound which strikes fear into the hearts of all devotees, the sound of milk overflowing. It's described, everything in the spiritual world has consciousness. So the milk inside the pot that was on the stove was thinking, what is the use of my existence? Mother Yashoda, Krishna is being fully satisfied by the milk. If Krishna becomes satisfied by the milk flowing from Mother Yashoda's breast, then what is the use of my existence? Therefore, I might as well commit suicide and jump into the fire. So that's why the milk was boiling over. So Mother Yashoda, when she heard the milk boiling over, she was like, oh, these silly servant girls, they've put too much wood on the fire and made the pot too hot. And so she put Krishna down and then went to take the pot off the stove. Now, it's described how at that point, she was relishing the touch of Krishna, the association of Krishna. But when she put Krishna down and started to move away, she was feeling intense separation from him. And in that position, she became completely disorientated and bewildered. And it's described how Yogamaya, in an invisible form, actually had to help Yashoda to the stove to take the pot off, because of the ecstasy that she was experiencing. Actually, Krishna, he could understand that actually Mother Yashoda, she is experiencing more ecstasy than I am. So, when Mother Yashoda went to take the milk off the stove, Krishna, he became infuriated. He became so angry, I'm still hungry. Mother Yashoda leaves me, to attend to some stupid milk, and she doesn't even, finish feeding me first. But we have to understand that everything that Yashoda Mata does is for Krishna's pleasure. That milk in the pot was no ordinary milk. That milk, Maharaj Nanda, he has 900,000 cows. And of those 900,000, there are 100 which are called the Padma Ganda. Those cows, the milk that comes from those cows, is pure nectar. They produce the best milk in Braj. Maharaj Nanda, he reserves a paddock, a special paddock for these cows, which has the most lush green grass that they can feed on. And it is only that milk which is used to make sweets for Krishna. And it was that milk that was in the pot on the stove. So Mother Yashoda, she went to take the milk off the stove, as a service for Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure. So Krishna, he was frustrated at being neglected. He was jealous of the boiling milk. And he felt spiritually shortchanged because Mother Yashoda was feeling more ecstasy than him. Therefore, he said, I will get revenge. The previous day, Krishna had brought some stones in from the courtyard. And he saw those stones lying nearby. So he went to pick up one of them. It's a broken pestle. And he went to the churning pot where Mother Yashoda was churning the yogurt, and he hit it once, twice, thrice. and the pot cracked. Krishna then put his finger to the pot, and the pot split open. It's described just like the palace gates open to receive a king, that the churning pot opened up and all the yogurt came spilled out onto the floor. And because all the yogurt was on the floor, it was contaminated. And Krishna was thwarted again. I can't even eat the butter that was in the churning pot because it's still contaminated. Therefore he crawled through the butter and he decided to find the storeroom. He decided to go to the storeroom to see what he could find. So therefore he went into Mother Yashoda's drawers in her room and he found the key for the storeroom. Then he went and unlocked the door and went inside. There was no light inside the storeroom, but just from Krishna's divine effulgence, that was enough to light up the room. And Krishna, being very intelligent, he moved a mortar. He couldn't reach the pots of butter, freshly churned butter that were made the day before. So he moved a mortar to stand on the mortar so he could reach them. And when he got up on the mortar, he managed to get hold of the pots of butter that were hanging up. And he started to eat this butter. Suddenly, he hears Mother Yashoda. She says, "I'm coming there," and therefore Krishna decides, I've got to get out of here before Mother Yashoda finds me. So Krishna runs out of the storeroom, down the stairs, out into the courtyard, and finds an upside down mortar outside. And then he starts freely distributing the butter to the monkeys. And as Krishna is distributing this butter, he has his back to the house. And Mother Yashoda, she comes, she sees the broken pot, she sees the spilt yogurt on the floor, and Krishna's footprints from the butter, from the yogurt. So she follows the footprints. They lead to the storeroom, and she sees in the storeroom, because the door had been left open and unlocked, the birds had got in, and they had contaminated everything, or the whole storeroom full of produce was completely ruined. So she was beside herself. All this, butter and yogurt, everything was ruined. So she's like, when I get hold of him, I'm going to punish him in such a way that he'll never do this again. So therefore she went out, she followed those footsteps downstairs and out into the courtyard, and she saw Krishna sitting on top of the mortar, distributing the butter to the monkeys. And she very carefully, she started walking towards Krishna, careful not to tread on any twigs or dry leaves. And she saw, leaning up on the wall, was Nanda Maharaj's cane, his walking stick. And she thought, oh, Nanda Maharaj must have forgotten to take this with him today. Therefore, and she picked up his stick in her left hand. And she's walking towards Krishna. And then suddenly, a breeze whispers in Krishna's ear, "Watch out! Mother's behind you." And Krishna, he looks, turns around and sees Mother Yashoda standing there with a stick, with a cane in her hand. And their eyes lock. And then Krishna, he knew he was going to get punished, but then he saw she's holding a stick. She's holding and he looks at the stick, and looks at Mother Yashoda, and looks at the stick again, and she's like, Mother Yashoda's going to hit me with a stick. And he just jumps off the mortar and runs. And Mother Yashoda chases him. And it's described that they ran through all the houses in Vrindavan. This is a transcendental chase. And Mother Yashoda, she's shouting at Krishna, "Wait, stop! Come here, you rascal!" And finally, what happened is Krishna made the mistake. Mother Yashoda, she said, "Okay, I'll put the stick away, I'll put the stick down. Just stop running." And Mother Yashoda, she hid the stick behind her back. And Krishna, he stopped running, and she grabbed hold of his arm and pulled out the stick again. But Krishna, he became petrified. That, "No, Mother, don't beat me, don't beat me." And he rubbed his eyes with his hands, and it's described the mascara around his eyes becomes smeared, and he became even more beautiful. And when Mother Yashoda, she saw Krishna, who was so afraid, she put the stick down and she decided to bind him. Actually, the reason why she decided to bind him, was because that she thought that he's so afraid that he may run away. And she didn't want Krishna to go run into the forest and get lost. So she decided to bind Krishna. So she took him to the upside down mortar, and she took a golden thread from her braid, and she wrapped the thread around the mortar, and then tried to bring the ends together to tie Krishna to the mortar. Now Krishna has two Shaktis, his Vibhuti Shakti and his Satya Sankalpa Shakti. His Vibhuti Shakti is his opulence, potency, and his Satya Sankalpa Shakti is his desire potency. So therefore these two potencies, they ganged up on Mother Yashoda. There's no way. It was Krishna's desire that he would not be bound, therefore we must fulfill our Lord's desire. Therefore, no matter how hard Yashoda tried to bind Lord Krishna, she could not bring the two ends of the rope together. She got many ropes from her own house. She asked her maidservants to grab by this time, many of the gopis had seen the event which was taking place. They were like, "What's going on? Why is Mother Yashoda acting like this towards the Lord, towards Krishna?" So Mother Yashoda asked some of the other gopis, "Go and fetch your ropes from your house. You know, if it's the last thing I'll do, I will bind Krishna today." And so the other gopis, they went to fetch their ropes that they used for tying the legs of the cows together for milking. And they brought them to Mother Yashoda. And Mother Yashoda, she tied all these ropes together and tried to wrap them around the mortar and bring them together, but still they were too short. And it's described that Mother Yashoda, she was perspiring, she was exerting so much energy to try and bind Krishna. It's described that this activity of binding Krishna went on for several hours. You know, and Mother Yashoda, you know, she was after rope, she was joining. She was completely bewildered. Why the abdomen of my son is just, you know, so small? Why can't I connect these ropes together and bind him? You know, when Krishna saw the exertion that Mother Yashoda was exhibiting to try and bind him, finally his Kripa Shakti descended, his mercy potency. Mother Yashoda had been trying to bind Krishna, you know, for so many hours, you know, and her hands were in the habit of, you know, moving the rope around and bringing the ends together. And it's described that she had actually given up. At one point, at the end, you know, I'll just have to accept it, that I can't tie these ropes together. But her hands were still in she had been doing the same motion like for many hours, and her hands still came together. And finally, you know, when the ropes actually came together and she could tie a knot, she was shocked. She was like, because she had actually decided that, okay, my son can't be bound. You know, and she tied the knot, you know, and she tied another knot, and she was like, wow, okay, he's bound. So when she was trying to bring the ends of the ropes together, the distance between those two ends is described as Chanaka Adi, the distance of 2 chickpeas. And so that distance was covered by 1, the exertion of Mother Yashoda, and 2, Krishna's mercy, Krishna's Kripa Shakti. So similarly, if we want to bind Krishna, we have to put in as much exertion into our service as Mother Yashoda. And then Krishna's mercy potency, his Kripa Shakti, will allow us to bind him to our heart, to our consciousness. We chant in a Dhammadarastakam, idam te vapunat gopala balam, sadamemanyasya vrashtim kamanyai. That may this beautiful form of yours as Balagopal in Vrindavan ever be manifest in my heart, for what is the use to me of any other boon besides this? So this, it can be our meditation for Kartik. How we can try and bind Balagopal to our consciousness. So in that way we'll always remember him and never forget him. So I'll stop there and ask if there's any questions or comments. Hare Krishna.
You mentioned about hearing, that we should always hear to remember that the four real problems burden in old agencies. So how do we know that we are actually hearing properly? And what are the signs that our hearing is effective?
Thank you, it's a very nice question. Yes. The symptom of one who is hearing properly is that they will notice that the diseased condition, the attraction for the material energy, will disappear. And their attraction to hearing about Krishna and his devotees will increase. Actually, Srila Prabhupada explains that the barometer of how much advancement we are making, we can tell how much advancement we're making by how much lust, our heart becomes free from lust. So yes, if we're hearing properly, actually the Vedic definition of hearing doesn't mean just to sit there and allow the sound, that helps, allowing the sound vibration to enter, but it actually means to act on what you've heard. It doesn't mean just to hear and sit idly and do nothing about it. It means that you take what you are hearing away with you and you apply it to your life. Otherwise, what is the use? So yes, hearing is our most important activity. Daily hearing. Okay? Anything else? Okay, thank you kindly for your attention. Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Janitai Gope Manandi.